No, I said there were three. I said there were three ways to duplicate items. I'm echoing. I don't know why.
It's not echoing for me. I don't know if it's echoing for anyone else.
Yes, it's echoing because your mic is on.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, cool. So there are three ways to duplicate. Yeah. The first one is normal alternate and drag, which is duplicate. You click on the element, hold the alternate key, and then you drag it. Right. Now, when you drag, then you've duplicated the item. Now the second way is Command D, which is the shortcut. Uh, you just select the item or the element, click on Command D or Control D, and you duplicate. The third way is doing it again. You are duplicating, yes, but that's too long. So you can use the first or the second. Well, I don't know how Control D is difficult. They are looking for a shorter way. Well, yeah, that is shortcut Control D. I don't think that answers this question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
All right, cool. So, yeah. Udochukwu.
Okay, good evening, sir.
Good
I
evening.
had a challenge when I was trying the assignment, so I couldn't complete it. First of all, my challenge was clicking on the desktop frame or desktop format. It was too tiny for me to work on, so I didn't know if I was supposed to work with the space, the tiny space, because I wanted to enlarge it and work, which was better for me, more comfortable. But because of the instruction, they said we should work with the desktop frame, so I couldn't complete the assignment. It was just difficult for me to work with that small space. So I don't know. I'm asking, was I supposed to increase it and work and then probably decrease it later, or was I supposed to work on it like that?
Yes, so you don't increase the width of your frame. If you click on the F on your keyboard and you select your frame, I said desktop frame, right? So you select your frame, desktop 1440 by 1024. Now you have a desktop screen. When we get into the class, I'll show you how to zoom in, zoom out, and I'll show you shortcuts to zoom in and zoom out. Now, the reason you were thinking that it's too small was because you were zoomed out, right? It was far from you. So you can actually zoom in and it will be big because the desktop screen cannot be too small for you. So I'll show you how to do that. But then to your question, when you asked if we should increase the frame, do the work, and then resize it, no. You don't increase the width of your frame. It's like if you increase it, when it comes to a mobile phone, it will be too big for the mobile phone. Or when it comes to a laptop, it will be too wide for the laptop. You can only increase the height up to down, the height, because so that users can scroll up to down. So never increase the width of your frame. The width, I mean left to right. So when we go into the today's class, I'll show you how to zoom in, zoom out, and so I can get exactly the screen.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Olivier,
Good evening, sir. I have a
good evening.
question regarding like the final instruction in the assignment, like number 8. Um, After exporting the design as a PNG file, it says to place it in your Figma canvas. So, like, my question is like a clarification. Is it that we're supposed to import the PNG file, or like we're supposed to add it to like the previous design and scale it or something? Or like I don't really understand that part.
Okay, so I taught you guys how to place images on your canvas. There are three ways to place images, right? The first one is to if you go to that shape tool, if you go to that shape where you select your rectangle, your circle, sorry, your ellipses, and your arrow, all of those. The last option there is to place image, right? So if you click on place image, it opens your window explorer for you to select the image you want to place. Now when you select the image, give it some time, select the image, then click on OK, give it some time, the image will not appear on your mouse. Then you can now draw the shape that you want to place the image as. It can be a rectangle, a square, up to you. That's one. Second way is to put a rectangle and then fill it with the image. And the third way is to use the way I've got to mention it as an assistance to someone else, where you open your file explorer and then you drag the image into your Figma canvas. So what I was expecting though was for you guys to use the first method, which is to use the place image, go into your shapes tool, selecting place image, select your exported canvas, right? Export the desktop as PNG, select it, and then place it into the Figma file. I did not say you should delete what you've done before. I said place it into the Figma file. Now the purpose of that particular assignment was to solidify you in placing images. So it's basically, by repetition we gain mastery. So if you do something over and over again, it sticks. So that particular task was to make you know how to place image properly. But I saw people are exploring different methods of placing images, which was fantastic. I mean, too many ways to clear out, that's fine. Just matter of fact, bring the image, export it, and bring it back into the screen. I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Ruska.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening.
Okay, so concerning that place image, because I really had a lot of difficulty in that aspect. So I was thinking it meant when you export, maybe you save that file as image, then bring it back to the canvas. It really took me some hours, and I don't even know if I did it right. So in one of the complete circle, the perfect circle aspect, I saw somewhere about image in it. So when I was doing my assignment, I placed my image inside my complete circle. So I don't really know. That's one of the things I really wanted to ask you because it was very confusing. If you can clarify, please.
Okay, so for that is question 6, number 3, right? No, sorry, number 5. Yeah, question 3, number 5. Places, draw a circle, then fill it with an image, right? The way you did it is right. Draw a circle, you drew the circle, perfect circle, then you clicked on, you change it from solid to image, and then you fill that image. That's right. The second question, which is number 8, place the PNG on your Figma canvas. Now, export the final design as PNG. You export it, save it in your desktop, right? Now, then place it into the canvas. It's simply telling you to bring that image you exported back into the canvas. I don't know if the English I used there was confusing though, but that was the best I could come up with at that point. Is that verified? But I think I'll run through it quickly before we talk about what we have for today.
Okay, that's better, sir. If you run through it.
Yeah, I think I'll run through it. Yes, Cynthia.
Okay, I think it's basically the same question because what I did was I was unsure if I should place the PNG in the same file. I did not know. So what I did was I created a new file and placed the image in the new canvas. That was what I did because I was actually very confused on that last instruction. I was very confused. So I now have like 2 separate Figma files, like the original one for the editing and all, and then I now like created a new canvas, a new file, and placed the PNG in that canvas. I think maybe I've done something very wrong because I did not know if we're supposed to put it in that same file, making it like 2 images or something. So I'm very confused on that.
And you submitted just one Figma link, yes?
Yes. And I
Fantastic.
submitted the Figma link that had the PNG.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, Precious. Yeah, Precious, your hands are up. Uh,
Sorry, I said my issue is the same with Cynthia's. I exported the file that I designed, then I placed the PNG on a whole different canvas, and that was one I submitted.
okay. Okay. Um, nobody has problem with design thinking. Nobody has problem with drawing the shapes. If someone drew a donut, the person was creative in achieving the purpose, getting a donut. The person used circles. Then the first circle was to put normal circle. The second one was smaller. Then you now change it to white. So you would think it's a donut. That was fantastic. But then let me share my screen quickly. So I'll take you guys through uh, what I expected basically. So let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see your screen, sir.
I see us.
Okay. So in your own terms, what is UIUX? I saw a lot of generic explanation for what is UIUX. I saw somebody was copying, I think, the fourth link on Google on what is UIUX and dropping from. I said in your own terms, right? So in as much as there's a definition for UIUX, there's a definition for it. Also, what is design thinking? I saw somebody copying two people actually copied the same thing. I was like, okay, oh wow. Your own terms, all the many bibbing English. Tell me what you understand by UIX. Because if you don't understand it by yourself, me telling you it is an iterative, it's too long talk. How do you understand UIX? There are some amazing answers to these questions though that I really appreciate. Um, so I'll skip all these because they are pretty generic. But let me just run through it again. Um, so design thinking is set of paths that designers take to achieve their final solution, which gives a proper experience to users. That's design thinking in my own terms, right? Design process. So empathize, ideate, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Third stage is ideation. This way you test your ideas. You bring out wireframes, sketches, multiple people input just to get ideas out and generate a final solution that will tackle the problem that we defined earlier, right? So many people answered this red field. That was fantastic. Then square. Somebody was to draw a rectangle for me. So if you want to draw a square, now you come to this place, select the rectangle. There's no square here. Or select the rectangle, then hold your shift key and draw. Now this is a square because it has both width and height the same. If you don't hold your shift key, this is what you get. It will be free wheel. But the moment you hold your shift key, it automatically becomes a square. It locks it basically. Let me go to the next question. So that's for square. A donut shape, fill it with yellow. A donut shape is gotten from a circle. So, but we don't have a circle here, right? So we take an ellipse. Now, when we are drawing our circle, we hold our shift key to get a perfect circle. If I don't hold my shift key, I will get an ellipse. But holding my shift key, I get a perfect circle. Now, when I have this circle, I will see that there is a dot here. So I click on the dot and I see that there are three dots. I come to the middle one and get what I want. Then I close this back. This is my donut. Then I fill it with yellow. Right? This is the donut that I expected somebody to draw. Somebody did give me this one square, one circle, another one, fill this one with white, and fill this one. They look alike, they are both donuts, but it's not a donut. They're two different things. For the question that your desktop size was too small. Now, if you want to get a desktop frame, you click here, expand desktop, select desktop, right? Now it is this small, so you wanted to scale it up so that it is big for you, then you do your thing. But as I said, you don't increase the width of your desktop, you can only increase the height so that I can scroll up to down to reveal more content. But your width is set to 1440 by default. Now, how do you zoom in? To zoom in, if you are using a mouse, which I would advise for now, except you have a MacBook or a laptop with a large trackpad, I would advise to get a mouse so you can easily do all these things. If you want to zoom in and out, you can easily either you come here, select it where you put it at zoom in, and it zooms into where you're looking at, or you hold your control key, then your mouse wheel, in the mouse there's one wheel that should roll up and down. Now you can decide to hold your mouse, hit control, roll your mouse wheel up. I'll go again. To zoom in, you press control on your keyboard, then roll your mouse key up. You will zoom in. Now, as I'm in, now the screen is big enough for me to do what I want to do. But if I'm out like this, the screen is too small, I cannot see it. So hold my control key and then roll the mouse wheel up. I will zoom in. To zoom out, hold my control key and roll the mouse wheel down. The keyboard shortcut for zooming in is Control plus, right? So Control plus, it zooms into where you're looking at. If I'm looking up here, Control plus, it zooms into where I'm looking at. Now, if you're in, there are too many screens here, right? I want to zoom into maybe this particular screen. I could just come here, double tap on the shape on the layers panel. Say I want to zoom into that desktop that we just created. That is this one at the bottom here. I can come and double tap on this hashtag, double tap on it, it zooms you right to the screen. If I want to come to this 14, I don't know what it is, so maybe let's say this slide 443, I don't know what it is. I double tap on it, it takes me right to the screen. So it's a way of quickly zooming into precise zooming in to exactly what you want. You double tap on the shape icon, If I double tap on this ellipse, not on the name, because if I double tap on the name, I want to rename it to whatever I want. But if you double tap on the shape icon, it brings you to what the shape is. Instead of zooming, you holding your control key, going back, going up. If you can find it here, if you properly name your layers, you will just get it exactly. To name your layers, either you double tap here and enter the name you want to give it, or you right click on it and you will see rename. I can right click on this and I will see rename. Now I have to right click on this one here to rename it, or double tap on it. Another way is Control R. But those shortcuts, when you play around with it, you get to know the shortcuts. But basically, you will see the shortcut right beside it. So for rename now is Control arrow. So if I hold Control plus arrow, see it's highlighted, I can then give it what I want. Yes, please go.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
When I was designing, I had problem deleting some shapes that I don't want. So how do you delete shapes? Because I had to push one of my shape down because away from my frame. I had problem deleting it, and I didn't want to start all over again designing, so I pushed it down.
Okay. To delete anything, click on it, then just hit backspace on your keyboard, right? To delete any shape, click on the shape you want. Say I want to delete this one, click on it, then hit backspace on your keyboard. It deletes. Normal delete. Click on it, hit backspace on your keyboard, it deletes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um, I think there's something. Then placing image, right? So let's say I did all those. I got my frame. I drew my rectangle. Give it the color red I want. Drew my square. Give it the fill I want. At 2 pixels. I don't want this fill, so I can either turn it off or delete it. Turn it off or delete it. Now if I delete it, I can click on plus and I add it again. Turn it off or delete. So I have my square, then I have my other shapes, right? Um, Before I do that, let me just do the pentagon, octagon, right? So this is, and I said duplicate it 4 times. Now, there's one way, click on it, hold your alternate, and you drag it. This is one way of duplicating it. Do it 4 times, and you have it 4 times, right? If you are dragging and you are seeing that it's coming out, but you want it to be exactly the same line, still while holding alternate, hold your shift key, and it's just at that same line. That's one way to duplicate, right? A second way to duplicate is to click on it, Command D. It's right underneath it, so you have to push it outside. And then when you do it, it just keeps going. The third way is to draw it again, right? Uh, Draw it again, and you have your shape 4 times, basically. Or Control C, Control V, then bring it outside. Um, Introduction to Figma is not done in one day. So along the line, you guys will experience a problem. If you don't know how to solve it, reach out to me. In our next class or subsequent classes, if I cannot hold a private class quickly, or I cannot do a short video on your problem, we can talk about it. Because right now, I was doing something, because if you duplicate now, it's under, but I was bringing it out, and I remember that I don't think I taught you guys how to bring it out like this. So how I did that was, now you know you have your arrow key left, right, up, down, right? Now I can click on my right key, it's moving by 1. I can hold it down and it keeps moving. I mean arrow key on your keyboard, you know there's a left, up, down, right. So I can click on my right on the keyboard and it's moving to the right. Click on down, it's coming down. Click on up, it's going up. Click on left, it's going down. It's going to the left. Now, if you observe, if I click on left, it's going left by 1 pixel. Now, this is 1 pixel, 2 pixel, 3. Everything here is 1 pixel. So if I zoom in, you might not be able to see though, but if you zoom in, by zooming in, I hold my control key, then roll the mouse wheel. If you're on your trackpad, right, just put 2 fingers on your trackpad. Do like you want to expand your fingers, widen your fingers. two of them on the trackpad, widening them, you are zooming in. Bringing them together, contrasting them, you are zooming out on the trackpad. But on the mouse, control and then use your mouse wheel to move quickly. So if I move it by one, the technical term is nudge, Nudge, nudging it by 1 pixel, right? If I click on the right hand key, the right directional key, once, it's nudging it by 1 pixel, right? Now, if I hold shift and click it, it's nudging it by 10 pixels. One click is 1 pixel, shift and one click is 10. How do I mean? Let me draw two. So first off, distance between this guy and this guy is 74. Now I want to click. Now how I got this distance first off is click on this, hold alternate, hover around what you want to get distance between. It will give you the distance. Click on the element you want, hold alternate, hover around the element you want to get a distance between. Say I have me and then this is my door. Distance between my door from me. I click on myself, hold alternate, hover on my door. It tells me that it's 74 pixels between me and the door. Do you understand that part?
Sorry, how did you how are you able to keep track with what you are pressing, the alternate, I think you mentioned shift, like what you are pressing at the same time and looking at the screen. Like it's like,
Yes, practice.
I don't know if you get what I mean. It's like you're doing, like how do you get to keep track of the alternate and um like controlling it basically.
Okay. So I'm using right currently I'm using my mouse, right? So my left hand is on my keyboard. One of my finger is on shift, another of my finger is on alternate. My right hand is on my mouse. I don't know if that works for you.
Okay,
Do you
does.
get?
Yes.
That's what I was saying. For trackpad, yeah, it might be difficult, especially if it's a Windows laptop that doesn't have a large trackpad area. So it will be difficult for you to use your finger to do this, use your hand to do this, still look up and still get something awesome. That's why I was suggesting you guys could get a mouse, wired mouse maybe for now before you move into wireless for your convenience. And so I can quickly multitask with both hands. Because currently what I'm doing is, for this case, I'm clicking on it with my right hand right now because my right hand is my mouse. I'm holding the alternate key and I'm hovering around this. So I'm getting 74. If I want to duplicate, I click on it, hold alternate shift with two of my fingers and then drag with my right hand and I've duplicated. Do you get?
Yes.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you. So to get the distance between two elements, right? You click on one element, hold alternate, and then hover on the second element, and you get the distance. Somebody asked for share my screen. Okay. Um. So I wanted to explain the nudge thingy. So if you click on your four directional keys, right, on your keyboard, click on the right one. Remember, this is 74. Now I will click on it once. Now notice that it is now 73. That means I moved 1 pixel to the right. I will click on the back navigational key once. Notice it's now 74, meaning I moved back by one. Now I want to move by 10. Maybe I want 54, right? Meaning I want to move by 20. So I hold the shift, click 1, 2. I've moved by 20, so it's now 54. So you will need this when you're designing, maybe you're designing forms, rectangle, rectangle, and then you want to move this one from this one maybe by this is 5, maybe it ought to be 16, right? That means you want to move by 11. So instead of moving it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you can just move it by 10 and then once you got to your 16. That's the essence of knowing how to use this nudging and how to use shift. Remember, clicking on it alone, you're nudging by 1. Holding the shift and clicking, you are nudging it by 10. So that's how I say if you use the Ctrl C, Ctrl V format here, click on this, Ctrl C, I've copied it, Ctrl V. Now it has pasted. See, there's not a duplicate, but it's under, right? If you want to push it outside, I can hold the right on my directional key and you see that it's coming outside. Or I can hold shift and right and it comes outside quickly. So say I've done all this, right? I've done all this 4 times, right? I want to now export it and then place it back on the canvas. This is your Figma canvas. This whole thing is as long as it's a Figma canvas. So you opening a different Figma, it's like opening a different file. That's a second file, not a second canvas. Instruction says place the image on your Figma canvas, not a second Figma file. So I have my desktop. Remember, if I want to zoom in, I hold the control, then roll my mouse wheel up. I will zoom into my selection. If my mouse is here, I'm zooming up here. My mouse is here, I'm zooming here. Right? I don't need to then move to the left and zoom in. If my mouse is on this red, I'm zooming to the red. If my mouse is maybe on this white, I'm zooming to the white. Right? So say you are here and then you want to move up. There are 2 ways to do it. You can either move down, you can zoom out, scroll up, then zoom back in, right? Or you can just use the hand tool. Click on the hand tool, drag, and then you're where you want. Then go back to your move tool. Click on the hand tool, press, and then just drag the way you're dragging. And then go back to your move tool to do your thing. Or zoom out, go where you want, and zoom in. Right? So talking about exporting. So export, click on your frame, like the desktop 1. Let's rename it to maybe desktop or test. Let's do test 2020, right? Click on export. You see export 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x. Talk about this some other time. PNG, JPG, SVG, PDF. Then click on export. Actually, where do you want to save? So I'll save to my desktop quickly, and that has saved to my desktop. Now I want to place it back on my canvas because the question says place the PNG image on your Figma canvas. I want to place it back on my canvas, right? So if I come to this shape place, at the bottom I'll see place image. Clicking on place image should open up a screen for me, telling me to select what I want to place. Now this is what we exported, test 20. I click on it and I click on open. Notice that my mouse now has the image on the mouse. I can either place all or discard all, or I can drag to place. I'll do that again. I come here, the shape tool. At the bottom, I'll see place image. Select what I want to place. Click on open. If I click on place all, it just drops the image for me exactly as it is, and that's fine. But if I have a certain size I don't want to place it as big as it is, right? I can then just draw it and place my image. Does that answer any question pertaining to placing image?
Yes, it does. Thank you. So,
All right.
sorry, what now
Yes.
happens that for persons that made mistake and they've created a new canvas and stuff? Like, what happens?
I don't know. I don't know how you explain to answer that question, Sha. I don't know. But it's fine. I don't know. But you will not feel. You will not feel. I don't know. But yeah, it's fine. If I see that why I wanted the image, I don't really want the image is because I can't expect that what you did is what I want you to do. If I said that somebody did this, it looked exactly like a donut, but going diving in, you see that it is just two images, which is not what I want, right? But then if you give me an image, I cannot dive in. It's just an image. But for the purpose of that clarification, where probably the question was not clear to everybody, I could give a pass on that section and then we'll move on to the next stage. But next time you could ask me on the group on the Slack group and then I would explain myself basically.
Okay,
There was
thank you.
some yeah there was something else I wanted to talk about. I told somebody I'll talk about something just now. Forgotten. Um, okay, so in a case where you don't want to place, I mean, you have multiple things, right? You don't want to open a new Figma file. You don't want to have multiple Figma files. Figma has pages. So at the top here, you will see layer asset page. You can collapse and expand. You can also add a new page, right? So you can click on plus and then you have a new page, a new canvas. You can keep on going until you reach your limit, basically. If you don't want it anymore, click on it, right click, delete page. So you can add as many pages as you want until Figma tells you you have to subscribe to add more pages. So instead of creating a new canvas, if it's the same project, no need creating a new file because one file should be able to access everything, except there's something you need to hide. Yeah, okay. Um, so if I will quickly, there's somebody said they do not know how to use Figma. I saw the response, and I don't know how to use Figma. Now, the reason we are recording this, right, is so that you can have something to fall back to. I mean, we had a class on introduction to Figma. You do not know how to use Figma. Natural instinct is to fall back to the video to see if you can rewatch and then understand how to. If you can't, reach out to somebody that can. Design is all about curiosity. Nobody will spoon feed you all the time, basically. You have to go out there to get to know more about it. So if you don't know how to use it, you could watch the video. If it's not still clear for you, reach out to the mentor in charge. If it's unavailable, reach out to your colleague. It's not a one-man army. That's the funny thing. It's not just you. There was something that somebody drew a question on the group channel on the group, and a student replied. That was fantastic. That's what I want to see. If you know it and then somebody's having an issue, please step in, right? So I'll run through quickly about Figma interface, just for the person. So on the left hand side is the layers panel. So down here, anything you add in here, you get to see them here. On the right hand side is your design panel. Now this is subject to what you select. If I select a shape, it gives me fill, stroke, effect, export. If I select a text, it gives me text characteristics, fill, stroke, effect, export. So this is sort of subject to what you select here. At the top, we have the Figma menu. So all these are self-explanatory. You get to use this as you go on. The next is the move tool. So this is used to move items around. Clicking here, clicking on the drop on the arrow on the move tool, you have two items, move and scale. We've talked about move. Scale is to increase or reduce a shape or an element proportionally. Now, if I reduce this, it is reducing the way it should reduce. We are not, unlike if I want to just increase it, right? If I want to increase it, you see that it might not increase the same way. The width is now this, the height is this. Unlike when I want to scale it, right? If I scale it, the height and width remains the same because I'm scaling. The next is the frame tool. Now see frame as your piece of paper where you write your journals. Now Figma has done a good job by giving us presets. So if you want a phone, go with the iPhone 11 Pro X or iPhone 13 mini for your phone frames. If you want to go with the tablets, go with the iPad Pro 12.9 inches. For desktop, go with desktop 14401024. Presentation is up to you, watch up to you. If you're designing for watch, paper up to you, social media up to you, Figma community, depending on your use case, and you might not likely use this archive basically. Now, you must not select any of this. You can just click on the frame and then just draw a frame. If what you want is just a frame, right? You can just draw a frame. Later on, we'll talk about the usefulness of frame and groups, why frame is important. The next one is the shape tool. So this is where you draw all the shapes. Everything we did here, they are all shapes. So rectangle, you draw a rectangle. You draw a square. Square is gotten from rectangle, but then square has equal sides. So as you're drawing, hold your shift key, and then it locks the proportion for you basically. You have line, arrow, ellipse. Now ellipse is this, but if you want your circle, because circle is gotten from an ellipse, if you want a circle, hold your shift key and it gives you a perfect circle. Polygon, star, place image, we talked about that. The pen tool is used to draw elements that are not in shapes, basically. Elements that have different, like a blob maybe. So now you can then fill this with the color you want, give it whatever property you want, but you cannot derive this from a shape, basically. Using the shape tool. Text is what you use in typing. All this hello world you see, so text are what you use in typing. This is resources, components, plugins, widgets. We'll get to this later on. But this is just a tool that you use to hold all your elements, components, all your plugins, and all your widgets. And this is your hand tool. Hand tool is used to move quickly to a different section at the hand tool. And this is comment. To leave a comment on somebody's work, leave a comment. Now at the top here, you see the name of your file and where it's saved. So if you're in a team, this will be the team's name, and then this is the name of the file. Name of the file saved in your company's team. Right hand side, you see collaborators. So if somebody else comes to this file, I'll see the person avatar here. The next is share. If you want to share this file with somebody else, you can click on it and then copy link, then paste it anywhere. Or you can invite the person, right? This is prototype. If you want to present this frame as something, prototype. This is telling you that I'm missing fonts, and then this is for zoom options. If I want to zoom to 100%, it gives me 100% of the screen. If I want to zoom to 200%, zooms this particular my view into 200% basically. So that is about the Figma menu. So as I said, the design panel is different when you select different things. Clicking on a shape, I get to see that, okay, this is the x-axis distance, this y-axis distance. You might not need this too much because as you move the thing, it moves. So it's just for people that handle precision to keep it at a particular x and y axis. This is your width and height. So your width and height. Now this is your width. This is your height. Now there's something on the right hand side that looks like a link. So this is telling you to constrain proportion. So if I want to manually change my width and my height, maybe 2000 by 1000, right? Then I'll come here and click 2000 and come here and click 1000. And that's fine. It gives me what I want. But if I constrain this and I change here to 2000, this is times 2. This should change to 4000. Because it's saying that anything you do to the height, do it to the width. So if I want, maybe I want this to be 2000, but I don't know how the height will be, but I want it to be proportional, right? Right now it is 4000, 2000, meaning the width is twice the height. So if I drop this by 2000, this should turn 10 to 1000 because it's divided by 2, divided by 2. That's the essence of this link here to constrain. This is your angle, so I can rotate it how I want, right? That's one way to do it. Another way is if you hover around it, you will see, if you hover around in the corner, you will see something that looks like a bend. That is used to rotate an element. You can manually enter the degree you want, probably 45 degrees, right? And it bends 45 degrees for you. This is corner radius. Corner radius is the amount of sharpness or bendness at the corners of an element. So for this rectangle, if I change my corner radius to maybe 20, you see how it's now bent. It's now curved a bit, basically. If I change it to 4, see that it's curved, but then it's 4 pixels. If I change to 100, this is what you have. 1 million, this is what you have, right? It's not a cylinder, right? But it's a square but with a large corner radius. If I want it to be flat, very sharp, I just give it 0 and this is it. Yes.
Please, I didn't get how you curved the edges.
Okay. So on the right hand side, selecting your shape, there is something here that is called a corner radius. So you can change the value of the corner radius. 0 means flat. As you can see, there is no bending. But if I turn it to 20, maybe. Now look at it. It's now bent at all sides. Left. If I go to the right. If I go to the left this way. If I go to the bottom, it's still bent 20. If I go to the bottom right, it's still bent 20. Now say I want to bend only the right, I want to bend maybe this place, this place, this place, but I want it to be flat. You know those messages you see where you are the sender, right? You are the sender, so you see that this, and this, but here is flat because your profile image will be somewhere here. But to achieve that, click on the image or click on the element. Beside this, you will see one icon, independent corners. So if you can't see what I'm doing, just zoom in on your phone, because I think it should be small. So just zoom in on your phone, zoom into my video on your phone, and then maybe you'll be able to see what I'm doing, because this typing is a little. So clicking on it, it brings out this flexibility for you. So this gives you the opportunity to change individual corners. So maybe the top left, I want it to remain 20. Top right, which is this top right, remain 20. Bottom right, which is this bottom right, I want it to be 0. Then bottom left, I want it to be 20. So you can see now that I have maybe if I fill this with an image, let's say one of this, let me just put one of this image. So if I maybe a profile image, you can now see that this is how your normal SMS used to look like. Some sides are bent, others some while there's one side that is not bent. That is for a sender. For a receiver, how it should look like is this top is the part that will not be bent because the person's profile image is up here. Now, how I duplicated this is just clicking on it, holding alternate and dragging it to the top. So I just duplicated it. So how to change this at the top to make it flat? Click on this again. Top left, which is this top left, change it to 0. Top right, which is this place, 20, that's fine. Bottom right, which is here, I want it to be 20. Bottom left, that's fine. So you can see that this is for you that is sending, this is for the person that is receiving. That's how corner radius are used. This is your layer setting, pass through normal. We'll talk about this some other time. This is your fill. Fill is how you fill your. I want to fill this shape with something. It might be color. So I could come here and then select the color I want. By clicking on all this, I can just get my color, right? Or I could change this and get the color I want, maybe subtle green, and then get the pastel green maybe. When we dive into colors, we will attend to all this. I could linear, radial, angular diamond image. We talked about it before. To go back, Ctrl Z, right? We talk about stroke, effect. We'll talk about it later on. I saw somebody giving me drop shadow. I didn't ask for it, but thank you. I didn't ask for it. Export. We talked about export a few minutes ago. That's pretty much it about this part, right? For shapes. Now, if I move into text, I can see that I now have something that is called text. This is to change the font. So if I have the font name, I can just come here. Maybe I want to use Roboto. I come here and select Roboto. It should change the font to Roboto for me, right? This is what was there before, like this. But this is what is there now, Roboto, right? So I can change this font weight, medium, regular, extra black, how I want it. I can change the size. If I want a larger size, I can change it. I can input the size I want, and I get the size I want. This is the paragraph height, line height, data spacing, paragraph spacing, alignment. We'll talk about this as we go into exploration for text. As usual, you can always change your text color if you want. Add a stroke to your text. So if I add a stroke to my text and I turn off my fill, I will arrive at this thing. So you must have seen people doing this. So if I add a stroke and then turn off the fill, this is what it will be like, skeleton. So I think that should be it for revision on last week. So let's dive into this week. If you have any questions, just leave them for me on Slack, and I shall attend to them. But your results should be out by probably tomorrow. Today we're talking about grid systems. So grid system generally is a set of guidelines designers use to keep their elements, to keep their design consistent and position things where they need to be, right? So grids help designers create layouts that allow users to easily scan and use your interface. So you might observe that people are putting things at the top left, Why should you put this here? Why should you put it right? Why should you do this like this? It's all governed by a grid system. So there are three types of grid: column, modular, and hierarchical grids. So for the column grids, this is where you divide your page into columns, vertical columns, and every element aligned on the column. Now, this would help in creating space, consistency between spacing. Now, modular grids, these are you must have come across e-commerce platforms where the the images, the products are in squares, short squares around. Let's look at Jumia, for example. So you can see that square, 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 square. So they used a modular grid here. Square, square, square. They use a modular grid. So how you can get a modular grid by just adding rows to this column. Adding rows to it can break it into sections. So that's where the elements are now placed. This hierarchical grids, so it's for, in some blogs, right? You might see a very big image on newspapers, maybe. You see the one that they want to take the most attention. You see it is bigger than other small ones. If probably something happened in Borno now, and they need to tell people the newspaper, it will be as big, it will be the big one, then other news might now be by the left hand side. So this type of grid is used to prioritize certain elements, and it's used in certain products like newspaper, webcam blogs. You can see all those, but it's the grid that you should go to. And of course, it depends on what you're designing for, but the start off is to start with the column grid. So why should we use grids? So it helps designers design quickly. Wait, Faith, you've not been seeing my screen so far. Okay.
Yes,
So
I stopped seeing it at some point,
okay.
but it came back.
All right, but you're following up now, aren't you? All right. So
Yes, I'll catch up.
there's some bit of lag there now. All right. So why grids? As I said, it helps designers put their things quickly, and it helps to keep the design well organized. Also, users scan it easily because they know that, okay, at the left hand side is um, where there's repetition, just like we have on Jumia. You can see that, okay, you know that these are products, this is how it to be. You come down here, you're already used to something. Than when you are saying 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, it's scattered, right? And also it aids responsiveness. We are not designing only for desktop, because that website you're designing would be accessible also from a mobile device. So you have to design the mobile responsive version of that desktop, of that website on the desktop, right? So grids then help you know that, okay, these ones are as a block. For example, for this, if I inspect this and maybe reduce it, you can see how their grid is it's never responsive. That it everything is just like this. But ideally, what should happen should be, let me just take an example at um, uh, let's see how Binance handles responsiveness in terms of their own grid layout. So this how Behance did theirs, also modular grids, right? So, but if you see how it is on mobile, right? As you can see, it's breaking. So when it's wide, it is taking out five, right? One, two, three, four, five. Well, now when it's for somebody accessing it from a tablet, right? This is how the person received three, 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 right? Someone on a mobile phone, this is how they received one, one, one. Now this was achieved using your grid. You know that as you're coming down, it's compressing and it's breaking, but then we are still maintaining your structure. So but unlike what we had here, I was reducing it and it was still giving me. Imagine I'm my mobile device now, right? This is how I see it. I have to zoom in to see what this is. I have to zoom in to see what all these are, which is terrible. So the mobile responsive of this website wasn't done. It's possible the designer did it, but the developer did not do it, or maybe the designer did not do it. So that's why we need grids, and that's why you need responsiveness. Because in as much as it's a website, it would also be accessed from a mobile device at some point, right? So for example, on a desktop, you may have 12, but when you get to mobile, you stack it down to 4, just like what we saw on Binance. Binance. This is what I was talking about. So on desktop, it's 4, right? But on mobile, it's now down to 1. So it aids responsiveness. So talking about grids now, before I jump into this, well, we've seen this, right? This is a typical grid layout, but as you can see, there's space here. Why this space? Why this in between space? Why this? And what does this yellow mean? So we'll answer all those in this. So this is the yellow is the column. This yellow is the column. This one is the margin, and in between is the gutter. Column, margin, gutter. Column is the yellow ones. Margin is distance between a grid column and your frame, right? That's your margin. Between your grid column and the frame, the boundary of your frame, that's the margin. But gutter is between two grid columns, that's where your gutter is. So I said here, the gutter is the space between columns that separates elements, right? While the margin refers to the left and right sides of your layout. So this is in one case, this is where we used this hierarchical grids. So as you can see, this is very big to capture your attention. DS also very big, and then we are seeing some small ones here. That's one use of this. This is for column grid. As you can see, they're all in columns, right? They're all in columns. Why this is modular grid? So as you can see, they're all in boxes. So your grid type is dependent on the platform you are building for, or rather the product you are building for. If you see that their content they will be repeated over and over again, then use modular grids. But if you know that they will be in a structure, as in some will be at the top, a different style will be at the bottom, just like the way our normal websites are, then you use column grid. That's why I said your go-to should be column grids. Yes, Will.
My question is Instagram a column grid?
Well, let's see. Maybe somebody can tell us. Instagram. Um, oh, Yeah, so this is Instagram for me, Instagram web version. Um, what grid is this, please? If you have to guess, what grid is it? What grid for my idea imply? Yeah, I'm asking you. If you have to guess, what grid for my idea apply?
Okay, I would say the column grid, but then if you are looking at it from a desktop, the column grid, but then if you are looking at it from a desktop, it might be looking like a modular grid.
Yeah, this is desktop, except I'm not doing something right. Well, this is my Instagram on desktop.
Okay, so it's I'm right to say it's a column grid.
Yes, yes, they use the column grid here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All these laws, rules, do this, do that, follow the path, follow the path. Why can't we just do our thing? Why can't we break this grid? I mean, it's not a do or die affair. Of course. But then now look at this. You actually broke the grid. This is a sample where someone broke the grid. Now, is the if I turn this off, is disjointed. There's no pattern, no flow. In some cases, you can do that if the purpose is to draw attention by disrupting the natural norm. That's fine. But it's advisable to always keep your things as orderly as possible. Keep them aligned properly, spaced properly, use your white space properly, and then it has to be consistent. So if I'm staying up, 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 I should not come down and then see one up, one down, one up, one down. Except probably there's an interaction here. If I hover on this, it then fills the space. You know how you see on if you use sites regularly, when you hover on design JSON sites, it then fills the space and gives you more information. And that's fine. We have a reason for breaking the grid. But in the case where it is in this format, right? This is a typical example of when you break the grid. So it's difficult to scan because right now there's high T here, but there's one here, so it's scattered, right? Before I hit conclusion, I'll take you guys to let's talk about grids. Let's do one grid for both mobile and desktop. So put your frame, select your desktop. I'll have a desktop. To zoom in, hold your control key and scroll your mouse wheel, or just put your two hands on your mouse and try to expand your two hands in opposite directions. Now I have this. Now I want to get my grade. I can easily just start designing what I want to design, put this here, put a text here, put a text here, put a text here, come down here, reduce this here like this. I can easily do this. But how do I design this faster? How do I make sure that this distance is the same as this, the same as this, and they have enough space for margin? This is where the grid comes into play. So to get your grid, right, you click on the desktop frame. You click on this desktop frame. At the right hand side, you see something like layout grid. You see something like a layout grid. Now click on the plus. You get all this telling you your grid 10 pixels, meaning every square is 10 pixels. From the draw a rectangle like this, every square is 10 pixels by 10 pixels. So everything here, if I move, is 10. If I move, is 10. That's not what I want. I don't want to move that 120 times to get where I want, right? So then clicking on these boxes, change your grid just the way you change your fill and select image. Change it from grid to column. Remember, we are doing column grid. Change it to columns. Now you have this. Now the standard setting, the standard column count for a desktop is 12. Right now it's 5. So we change it to 12. Now I have 12. Why 12? Now there's something called 8-point grid. 8-point grid is a grid format which ensures that all your elements are divisible by 8. Right? That's why you see people using 8 pixels at their distance, 16 pixels at their text, next is 20, next is 24, next is 28, and then you keep on just in that format, geometric progression in that format. That's 8-point grid, right? So sometimes for more attention to details, we can go to 4-point grid because 8 is divisible by 4. It's actually a 4-point grid than an 8-point grid. But then we barely use 4. That's why we start from 8 and move to 16. But earlier I mentioned 16, 20, 24. But 20 is not divisible by 8. But 20 is divisible by 4. So 20 is acceptable. So we have our count as we go on, I will explain, I will still dive deep into, you will see where we use 8-point grids, why we use 8-point grids in our typography, in our spacing, and all of that. So I'll change the count to 12. This is the color. So basically you can just change the color to whatever suits your eyes, just so that you can see it and then still walk around with it. Then leave this your type at stretch because we want it to stretch from left to right. From left to right. Margin. I said margin is distance between the column and the frame boundaries. Right now there is no margin. That's why you can see that the column is starting right from the frame margin. Now what this does is, if I design like this, if I start all my designs probably from this side, what this does is that in a case where they are using this screen in a larger device, a larger desktop screen, maybe a monitor, 32 inches monitor, it will stretch from left to right. Meaning all my content will go from left to right. Now imagine someone reading a website in his 32 inches laptop, spanning from the left-hand side of the 32 inches down to the right-hand side, and you are reading left to right, left to right. So it hampers experience, and it will just drop it right at your face, that you might have a problem. So we give our layout, give it some padding, some margin. So I start margin around 96, and times I go 120. This is totally dependent on you and the device and what you're working for. Like as we saw for Instagram, right? Now they needed just one. They need just one screen. Just one column at the middle. So they have a large margin and they have a large margin. So we don't. It depends on what you're using it for. I typically start mine from 120, 100 just to give some breathing room to my designs. Because right now, if I start my designs from this part, right, and maybe I turn off the grid, it will look better than me starting it from this place. So that's not all for our grids. We've talked about changing this from rows to column, changing the count to 12. modifying the color to suit you if the default color doesn't suit you, leaving the type to stretch if you are building a website to stretch, and margin of 120 pixels, 96 to 120 pixels to whatever you want, but give enough room from your margin, and that's reduced by 8, of course. Now your gutter is the distance between this column and this column. If I draw a rectangle for this column, if I duplicate it, let me duplicate it and put it right on the column, right on the column. Now the distance between these two elements, since I know my gutter, right, is already 20, I don't need to know this again. I know that this is 20. And then I know that at this size, I can do this multiple times and get exactly what I want. Unlike in a case where I do not have a grid system, right? I just start drawing rectangles. Maybe I want probably 8 rectangles here. Now I draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now start adjusting them to fit. Maybe it's too big, so I reduce it small. Reduce this one. Now I see the time it's taking me to just make this thing fit into just 8. But see the time it took us for a grid system. When we have our grid system, maybe we set instead of count of 12, say I want just 8 rectangles here. Now mind you, your grid system is not do it once and that's all. If I want to put four rectangles here, right? I have my margin set 120, 120. I want to put 4 rectangles here. I can set my count to 4. It helps me as to decide on the size of my rectangles. Now I know that if I come here and draw my rectangle at this size, snap, I know that 285 by 154 will go in here 4 times just to where I want it. And then I can turn off my grid and continue. It has gone in 4 times. I don't need to now start reducing this one by reducing it small, right? At the same time, if I want, probably I'm done with this 4, but my next one at the bottom, I want it to have 8. I can come in here, change this to 8. Now I know that if I draw my rectangle inside this part, it will enter here 8 times, and it will give me 8 times. So I don't need to now come and start deciding on what to do, the size to use, because my grid, I've already set up my grid in a way that my margin are set, the distance between these two are set. This is 19 because I think there's something that I did wrong here. Yeah. So I don't have to come deciding that, okay, what size will I use for this because I want just 5. How do I get just 5? No guesswork. It removes the guesswork for me. I also know that this place, because of course this is 1440, but we've taken 120 away from it. We're taking 120 by the right, 120 by the left, because our grid margin says 120. So we are left with 1440 minus 240. All right. We're left with 1, 2. Now, if I decide I want 7 rectangles inside here, and I change this to 7, I might have it as 7, but know that it will not be perfect 7. It won't be a perfect 7 because 1, 2 cannot divide 7 and you have perfect rectangles. There will be some that this one will be 20, but then if I keep on duplicating to get to a point where I might have 21 at some point, or this one will be one, the margin might be 122, might be greater than the 120 we have set. This is 120, but this 122. So I might have to manually say maybe two of these items would have to um change size to fit into what I want. So everybody might be 10 by 10, 10 by 10. Maybe two might not be 11 by 10, 11 by 10. That's because I want 7. And 7 entering into this my layout will not give me equals. So you make the grid doesn't make you. So you bend the grid to what you want, right? But try and stay within consistent rate. So I'm using this, let it go round. So that's for setting up a grid. So for this setting up a grid for desktop, does anyone have any questions so far? Yes.
Okay, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
So please, I didn't really get this how to make this margin. I didn't really get it very well. I got everything before and after that. So it's just how to make the margin. That's the problem I'm having at the moment.
Okay, so from this, where is the margin in this one? Is it this white part here?
No.
This one here?
Yes.
Okay, that's the start. So to make your margin, now go click on your desktop, right? Come to your layout grid, click on this, you get inside here. Now inside there you have your count. Remember the default count for desktop is 12. You have your count. That's the standard count to start. Then when you go in, you can now decide to modify it the way you want to modify it, depending on what you want to use it for. So if I want just 5, I can change it to 5 just for this use case, and then it increases my time. I mean, it reduces the time I take to do this task. But we'll stay at 12. Now we leave our type to stretch for website to stretch. Margin, you see the margin here. I set the margin to 120. I said start from 96 upward. As you can see on IG, right, the margin, if I tell you set 120, IG has already broken that to tell you that this might be probably 700 by 700 or 900, 900. Yeah. So start from 96 upward. So right now I'm going with 120 because I want a little bit of, I want a little bit more space by the side so that it can actually adapt to any device, any widescreen device. Because what this means is that if the screen is as wide, right, it stays at 120, 120. Probably maybe we are in another frame. We are no more in that desktop. Probably we're in iMac. It still stays at 120. The margin is still there, right? Probably I change this from iMac to maybe even one that is 1512 by 968. 120 is still right there, right? So that's why I set at 120. So there's space at the left hand side. Your gutter is the space between two columns. That is this. So that because elements sit on columns, not gutters. For this case, elements will sit on this part. The next one would start from this part. So your gutter is distance between two of them. So I keep my gutter at 20 because 20 is enough space between two items and is divisible by 4, which is within the 8-point grid format that we are trying to adopt. So that's your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Yes. Yeah, Jumoke, go.
Okay. So when you change the frame to other devices, it's all that time
Sorry,
No, no.
I'm losing you. I didn't get you.
When you change this of the of this page, like to other stuff and other, the design of the great ahead, like some of them are already grid and all, does that affect the design?
No. It doesn't. This purpose is because I did not set any constraint basically. I did not set any. There's a part where if I click on this, I can constrain it to where I want it to be. So if I click on this left now, and I can constrain to stay at the left center. So whether I increase the frame or not, it sticks to the left center. It doesn't go. You can see every other person is going, but he's staying at the left. This guy because I said stay where you are basically. So it doesn't affect it. It doesn't affect it.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, Jumoke, go on.
Um, I would like to ask if there is any special thing like I have to like do before the grid layout can show.
For the grid layout can show.
Yeah, because I can't actually find it in the design panel.
No, yeah, click on your frame. Click on this desktop frame.
Okay.
On the right hand side of the design panel, you will see something like layout grid. Click on the plus. If you click on the
Okay.
plus, let me start again, right? I click on my frame, desktop one. On the right hand side, I'll see something
Okay.
like layout grid. Now I click on this
I,
plus. It then gives me this. To change it to what we
yes.
want, we click on this box here, right? This
I
comes up.
don't know. It's not showing on my own interface.
What's not showing? This box thing here.
Yes.
That's that's odd. What is showing on your screen?
Yes.
What is showing on your screen?
Oh, I'm coming. Please. The only thing I can see here is just layer, then fill.
Layer. No. At the top, you will see something like auto layout. Then you see layout grid before layer. Click on the desktop itself. You should see layout grid.
I can't see it. Maybe we should just continue the class. I'll reach out to you later.
Okay, that's fine. But yeah, so select your desktop, right? At the right hand side, you will see after this part, you see auto layout, then you see layout grid. Click on the plus on your layout grid, this would come up. But we don't want this, so you click on this box. Change it from grid to column. Change your
Okay.
count to 12. Modify your color. It doesn't if you don't like red, change it to a particular color that suits you.
Okay.
Leave type to stretch. If you're designing for desktop or website, leave it to stretch. If you're designing for dashboards, then this should now be probably at the right. So, because there's on dashboard, there's something else to be here. But for website, leave it to stretch because you want it to be left to right. Margin, give a reasonable margin. So I start from 96 ahead. You can try to go with 96, just give a reasonable margin by the left hand side and on the right hand side. Your gutter, you can leave it at 20 because 20 is a good distance between elements because this is a gutter. Now with this, you have set up your grid for desktop, right? This is for desktop. Everybody understands now, right?
Yes, I understand.
Yes, fit.
Yeah, sorry, you
Thank
did
you.
something.
I didn't get that.
She said she have seen it.
Okay,
She said she
Victoria,
has
okay,
seen
yeah.
it.
All right. Yeah, fit, wrong with me.
you said you something you did how to disappear the margin and make it appear back. I didn't really get how you did that.
Oh yeah, so you
Can you
just
do it again?
turning off and turning on. You see one eye by the right hand side after you create your layout. You can turn it off and turn it on. That's it now, right?
All right, get it. Thank you.
All right. So everybody now can create a grid layout for desktop. Now this is your for the columns. Now say you want to now do your modular grid, right? So you can click on the plus, change this your grid to rows, set your margin if you want, right? And then set your gutters. So you know that everything at this point, everything everything within this from this guy and this next one is 20. This to this is 20. Let me just change this color so that we can see what I'm talking about. So this is you setting up your modular grids. So you can also decide to change this probably maybe 12 if you want. So now you are breaking it down. Just small if you want it this way. It's totally up to you. Right. Um so now we have for desktop. What about mobile? So for mobile, remember our go-to frame for mobile is 13 mini or 11 Pro. Yes.
Please, I didn't get how you turned it to margin. You were too fast.
How I turned it to margin. What did I turn to margin?
How you made this the margin? It was sorry, not the margin. How you made it the modular?
Okay, so I'll say that okay, so let's go to this here. So right on this so modular, this extends the column width further by adding rows to it. So all I did was yeah. So all I did was click on the plus to add a new grid on top of the one that we already have. Do the normal thing you usually do. Click on this box. But this time, instead of changing to column, I changed to row. Remember, modular is adding rows to the column. So I change this to rows. Now I have this as my rows. I can change the count to 12 if it's what I want. Give it the margin I want, top to bottom, right? Now I now have my rectangles here. This might be too much, so I might probably give it of 12. Maybe I want just six or four rows, right? So I have four. So I know that okay, from one to two. Now it must not be inside one column. I can combine two columns together. I can go ahead. I could combine three, right? But it gives me a consistent value because I know from year to year is three. So if I want to go three again, I know that this is three, and this is three, and this is three. So if I for my rows now, I can decide I want just four rows. Maybe I want three rows, right? And then the gutter between them, say I want it to be 40, right? So I have this. I can increase this, and then duplicate this, and I know that if I turn this off, if I turn both of them off, I have my modular grid. Do you understand that part?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
All right. So grid is just to help you shape your design. Right now, it's consistent, and we could achieve this without having to second guess the size of things. Right. I'm not a fan of red, so I might just go with something else. Okay. So now that I have my layout for desktop, right? For mobile, remember our go-to mobile is 11 Pro X or 13 mini. So I'll just do 13 mini. So for mobile, the same thing applies. You click on frame, come here, click on the plus, click here, change it to columns, right? But now, instead of 5, our standard our standard count is 4 for mobile. 4. For desktop is 12. For mobile, it's 4. Remember, we are on the 8-point grid. 8 is divided by 4. So 4 can go. Now, margin. Now, this margin is dependent on the device you are designing for. So there's something called iOS guideline and there's Android guidelines. One thing I noticed between both of them is that their margin are always 16 pixels. Their margin are always 16 pixels. You might see some people telling you to put 24 there, 24 there. But when you do that, when it appears on your screen, there'll be too little space for your element and there'll be too much margin, much wasted space on the left and right. So your margin is 16, your gutter can stay 20. That's fine. So we now know that if I'm to put 4 things inside here, this is the size of the 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. So this our screen is 375. First off, it's already odd because an iPhone is already odd number. So if we divide this by 8, we'll have some point, of course. We have some 46.88, which will be a problem. So if you are using this, everything will not be on the same size, basically. So in this case now, you can see that this is 19, or this is 20, but this is 19 and this is 16. So one will drop for everybody to be 20, 20. This guy is now 70, this is 71. So that's fine. As I said, you make the grid doesn't make you. So for mobile, this is how we do it. Column 4, column 4, change the color to fit what you want, leave the type as stretch, margin 16, gutter 20. This is for mobile and this is for desktop. For tablets, would be, as usual, click on the plus, change this to column. Tablet would be 8, this 32, and this 20. 8, 32, 20. So if your primary platform is tablet, then you should familiarize yourself with tablets, standard tablet practices, and then standard tablet usage. And of course, your layout is dependent on the platform you are building for, right? It can also change from one form to another. I might have done this so that I can get my top nav. That's fine. I get my top nav. Now I want to put probably just three things on the screen. I don't want to start guessing what should be the width of each element. I could come here, change from 8 to 3, and now I have the exact size I should draw my element that it will enter just the way I want it to enter. And I can continue with I can turn it off and continue designing the way I want to design. It might be a case now I want probably 5 on the screen. I could do that and then I get 5, right? So before we go, let's talk about alignment. Alignment. So alignment basically is you putting things the way they should be: left align, top align, bottom align, center align, right align. Now you can do this on Figma. So say I have 3 of these, right? 1, 2, 3. I want to select 3 of them and align 3 of them to the right, to the right. So to select multiple items, you click, you hold your shift, and then click. While still holding shift, you click. Now I've selected the 3 items. Now I can move them as a group. Remember, if I want to move them in a straight line down, I hold shift and it's straight line down. Sorry. If I want to move them straight line to the right, I hold shift, straight line to the right. Now if I want to align them to the left or to the right, now I can select them. If you look at this design panel, you will see some things at the top before you get to see the width, the height, the corner radius, and all of that. Now the first one is, if you hover on it, it tells you align to the left. The second one is horizontal align, meaning bring everything to the center horizontally. The third one is right align, meaning move everything to the right hand side. The fourth one is align to the top, take everything, all my selections to the top. This is align vertical center, meaning bring everything to the center vertically. Align to the bottom. In here, you can see more options. Inside the more options, if there is a need to tidy up, probably they are scattered. One is at the bottom and this, then you can tidy up. So Figma automatically tidies up the screen for you and gives you a proper layout. Right now, this one is, it just helped you tidy it up. So it just brings it, gives you proper layout. This is to distribute vertical spacing. So maybe I have this, mind you, this is vertical, up to down, horizontal is left to right. I used to confuse it when I was learning, yeah? Vertical is up, down, horizontal, left, right. So if I have all this here, now their spacing is not correct. It's not consistent. Spacing between this and this is 144. Remember, I'm getting this by clicking on the element I want, holding alternate key, and hovering on the next element I want to get a distance between, right? This is 144, this is 94. Now I want an equal spacing between all these guys. Now instead of coming to use my nudge, which is selecting what I want to change the distance, hitting my arrow keys by the time I want, or holding the shift and hitting it to increase it by 10. Instead of doing all those, right, I can select 3 of them, come in here, and tell it distribute vertical spacing. So it's saying that give between these 3 elements, give them equal spacings. So if I click on it, it aligns it for me. And over here, it tells me there's 117 pixels between them. You will see it here, 117 between them. To confirm that, if I click on the first one, hold my alternate, hover on the second one, 117, click on this, 117. So instead of spending all those time that it took just now to get the adequate spacing between them, making it consistent, I could utilize this and just distribute it. Same thing applies for the right hand side. I mean for the horizontal side, right? Now maybe this is like this 11348. So I can just select three of them, distribute horizontal spacing, and it gives me 81. Maybe I don't want 81, I want 40. I can just click on this and then change it to 40. So now the spacing between this and this is 40 without having to manually push it much more, check again, push it, push it, and then you don't have to do all those. You can just utilize that functionality. Now, if I have this bottom, this here, right? I want to align to the top of this guy. I want everybody to come and meet this man, meaning align to top. So if I highlight all of them, if you're using the mouse, just click and drag, select them, you selected it. Or you can just hold shift and select multiple. Here it says align top. So clicking on it, it aligns everybody to the top. Align to the left, that is this guy. Clicking on it, everybody comes to the left. Align to the center, like this one. Clicking on it, everybody comes to the center. Align to the right, everybody goes to the right. Align vertical centers, everybody comes to the center. Sorry, everybody comes to the center. So they all vertically meet at the center. This one horizontal center, they all vertically meet, and they all horizontally meet at the center. Horizontal center, they all horizontally meet at the center. Vertical center, they all vertically meet at the center. Align to bottom, they all go to the bottom. So that is your alignment right? So you can use this also in text. So I have this text. Now, let's say I want it like this. But then I want them to all align from the center. If you get to this text, remember clicking on text, you get to see this text panel. You can change the typeface, the width, the size, line height, spacing. You see auto width. Clicking on auto width now gives you a very, very long thing, right? It just brings them to your one line. You can manually reduce it to what you want. Then moves to auto height. You can change to fixed size. You can play around with this. But I want to hit aligning. Now, so I have this guy. Right now, it's left aligned. If I want it right aligned, I will click on this. So it starts from the right. So if you want to type anything now, you start typing from the right hand side, right? And then it's aligned to the right. If I want it center aligned, I can click on this, and then everybody goes to the center. So everybody is now at the center. Left aligned, everybody goes to the left. So this is how you can align text inside themselves. I can have two texts, and I want them to be aligned to the left now. Selecting two of them, I will not use this because this is for individual characters. I now use this and click on, goes to the left. I want right, click on, goes to the right. Right, if I want top, goes to the top, and then bottom goes to the bottom. All of that. But if you want to do it inside the text character itself, you have to use inside this place. So you can center it to the right if that's what you want, to the left as you go. So that's it for alignment. We've talked about the top. We've talked about how to align texts. We've handled grid spacing. We've handled grids. Talking about spacing, I think that would be in our next class. Spacing our colors basically. Because how do you know the space to leave between two elements? I mean, if I leave, why should I leave 40? Why not 100? Right. So I think we'll talk about that in our next class. Well, so far for today's um, tax basically. So in conclusion, grid not only provides designer a structure on which to base their layout, it also increases your readability, scannability for end users. So it's not just for you to increase the time it takes for you, I mean, to reduce the time it takes for you to design an interface, but also for your users. Because at the end, if they can't easily comprehend what you have, like what we saw when somebody broke the grid, I will leave this site and jump out because it's giving me too much trouble. It's really trouble in the world. Why added to my trouble? So I will jump out. But if you give me a properly designed layout like this, I'm accustomed to something, so I know, okay, this is how it is. This is fine, and um, it will increase the experience I get from interacting with your platform. On that note, though, I think that's the end of the um, fundamentals part one, which comprises of a grid system, spacing, and grid and alignment, basically. So we'll talk about spacing and colors in our next class. So for today, is there any section that you did not capture, or there's something that was that you don't understand, something you wanted to throw more light on? Yes, listen.
Good evening, sir. Thank you
Hi,
very
good
much for the.
evening.
Please, I have a question. Hello.
Okay. Yes,
Okay,
sir, I can hear you clearly.
I want to know, because when I go through some web design and all, some websites, I noticed that not all turn off the grid in the final design. So, like, is it compulsory to turn off the grid? Hello?
You mean turn this off?
Yes, turn off, like after making the designs, is it compulsory to turn off the grids?
Yes, please. If you are done using the grid, yeah, please turn it off. Except
Oh,
you want to tell the client or developer or whoever you're presenting to that you actually utilize a grid, that you understand grids, you know the importance of grids and why people use grids, then leave it on. But apart from that, we do not need your grids. We need the final design. Do you get?
okay, fine. Thank you very much.
Do you mean live websites that has grids or you
Yes,
mean designs? Live websites.
design designs, not
Okay.
website, just some
Okay.
design. Yes. So the
Okay.
grids are on, so I thought probably it's not compulsory to turn off grids.
No, I mean when you're done, except you have a reason to leave it on. But if you're
Okay,
done, right, turn it off. And to turn off
okay,
your grid, and maybe you have too many grids on now. I think there's a shortcut to turn off your grids. And if you go to, I think, view, you can just turn your, so it turns everything off at once instead of going. Because if I have this grid, right, um, what is that shortcut again? It is view shift G, right? Now, if I have multiple grids, maybe up to 10 different screens with all many grids, going to turn it off one by one will be a problem because I have to go to each screen and then turn off, then move. But instead, I can just come to this part, go to view, and then turn off layout grids. Everybody turn off to get. So that's
please.
why I said
One last question.
sorry,
Okay,
as you go on, we'll see the usefulness of this menu. Yes, go with your
okay,
question.
okay. I wanted to ask that in some designs, actually, I've been practicing, just playing around, and
Yeah, good stuff.
I found out that it's always when I try to constrain. I think there's an option for constraint, but some things are always stand by while others move. So I don't know if we'll still get to that part.
Yeah, this constraint, isn't it?
Yes, the constraint.
Yes, I think we will get to that part. But constraint basically is for, so maybe I have a button at the bottom. Yeah, I have this my button at the bottom. Now I can constrain it, fix this position while scrolling, and then I fix it to bottom. So if I increase this my frame size for any reason, say peradventure now, maybe I'm designing and then the screen is getting too long. If I fix this to bottom and then I increase maybe bottom at this stage. Now, if I increase this my frame size to give me more room to design, remember we don't increase the width, we increase the height. Now, if I increase the height, see how it is fixing to bottom. Do you understand?
Okay.
That's because I set fixed position while scrolling, fix it to bottom. If I say bottom center, right, that is means say I want to now design for tablet, right? Tablet is of this maybe 1024. So you can ask that it is at the center, the bottom center.
Okay.
Are you seeing it? So if I now want to go maybe for desktop, it is still at the bottom center. Um it is not moving to the left or to the right because I have set it to constraints. Do you
Mm,
understand?
okay. Thank
Exactly. So that's one part of that's the ideal way to handle responsiveness, website responsiveness, mobile first. Because there's something I go with. If I'm designing for website, I have the design I want for website, but then mobile first. I design the website, I mean the mobile version first. Then if this is difficult, do not just constrain, right? But it helps. So if you are moving from for different screen sizes, all your things stay just the way they are. I mean, if I tell this guy now to stay at the top left, as you can see, top left, it stays there. So if I fix it, if you are going, he doesn't it just stays there, it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't leave that particular spot, top left. So yeah, we'll get there if there's time, because I want you guys to people are itching to get into get their
you.
hands dirty with colors and do some
Okay.
designs. So if we get there, we'll actually handle it.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Thank you.
So apart from that, anybody has questions based on today or probably something you heard outside? Because yeah, I don't know if anybody has any question right now. So everybody understands what we did for today, having a rundown from last week class for people that were not there to quickly refresh your memory. Talked about layouts, grids. Yes.
Hey, good evening.
Hi,
I just
good
want to
evening.
briefly, yeah, I just want to talk about you. Okay, you shown the columns and what of the vertical, the rows? Yes. So I've been trying to use it, but I've not really like gotten how to use the rows because sometimes when I put some specific like number that I want, it won't appear on the frame.
Okay, but okay, for rows now, if I click on still selecting this my frame, right? I click on plus. I change this from grid to rows. Probably maybe I want maybe 4 rows, and of course give me a margin of maybe from the top and bottom. Let's say 32, right? Or let's increase it because when you have I'll send an article to you guys on designing within guidelines, platform guidelines. For mobile, I mean for iPhone, the size of your nav bar is different from the size of Android nav bar. So in this case now I have something like this, right? So I can increase my gutter to maybe 40 pixels between them. Now I have the size of my card, maybe my Airbnb card. So I have the exact size of my card. I don't need to go too far in terms of getting the size of cards. I just know that these two cards are the same size and they will give me what I want, 16 pixels, and they have 20 distance. So I can now then modify them to fit what I want. I cannot then modify them to fit exactly how I want it to be and continue from there without having to do any other thing. So I'll send a document on guidelines. Maybe when you know the offset to take off from iOS and that to take off from Android, then you can better position your rows. But personally, I do more of columns than rows. Personally, I do more of columns than rows. Did you get that?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I did.
All right, all right. So I won't want to keep you guys here for too long. So if there's any other question and any confusion you have about this or any other topic, feel free to message me on Slack, and I should answer you as soon as I get it. So thank you very much, guys. I should stop recording and sharing now.